Alrighty, we'll get started then. So again, welcome and good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. So this month's best practice webinar, we'll be looking at firm level settings and how you can customize and make sure that everything has been set up correctly at a firm level for your Simple Fund 360 license. So over the last 3 months, we've covered various different topics in relation to the bank data pack and how to get bank transactions into the software. We've looked at the share data pack and how to get the investment transactions in to the funds, as well as the registry data service. And we've also looked at the smart matching screen and how you can bulk match and create rules for your transactions to most efficiently process an SMSF. If you missed those webinars, we will include the links to them, so you can refer back to them. They are also available on the BGL YouTube channel. Today's webinar will be looking more at the firm level settings and how you can use the various screens to keep track of and make sure that you're keeping on top of things across all of the funds. So my name is Damien. I am the Client Success Manager here at BGL. Just a bit of housekeeping before we jump into things. So this webinar is being recorded, so if you do need to jump out at any time, that's perfectly fine. All attendees and registrants will receive a copy of the recording of the webinar within a few days from today as well. If you do have any questions throughout the session, please pop them into the Q&A section of your Zoom console. My colleague Cody is currently manning that as well, so then any sort of questions that you do have, Cody will be able to help with from there. If you have some time at the end as well, we'll definitely answer any sort of other questions that you may have throughout the webinar as well. So just a bit of an agenda for what we're covering today. So we're going to be looking at the Analytical Insights area, which is in the main fund dashboard, main entity workflow area. The account view, which is a little bit hidden, but it's actually available in every screen. It's really handy when you are processing an SMSF. And then looking at some of the tax agents and making sure that you've added all of the tax agent details and lodging parties into Simple Fund 360. And then a bit about the badges and report screen as well. So more just setting up, as we understand, there's quite a few number of new clients and new users to Simple Fund 360 as well. So this really targets and makes sure that everything's set up so for the next financial year, that you've got everything set up and don't have to worry about this during the lodgement and deadline period next year as well. Cool, so we'll just jump into the software and we'll just go through some of these screens in here. Okay, so at the moment, I've just got Simple Fund 360 already logged in and currently in on the screen at the moment. So we're in the entity workflow screen. So it's been renamed obviously from the fund workflow screen with Simple Invest now in here as well. And we can see the now renamed from the fund workflow to entity workflow from here. Now, this is also the first screen that you will normally see when you first log into Simple Fund 360 with all of the funds that you have access to. Now, one thing that we see a lot with clients is they miss a lot of the features that are actually available on this screen. So a lot of the time we're quite quick to go straight into a fund from the search in the top left-hand corner or select a fund from the list straight away. But before we even go into any of those funds, there's a lot of really valuable and useful information that you can see from within the main screen as well. So there's 3 things that we're going to touch on at the moment. The first thing is looking at the fund itself. So the little arrow here next to each of the funds that we can see here on the left-hand side, if I was to click on any of them, we can see some of the details relating to that particular fund. So I can see when was the last transaction posted in this particular fund. So if we're doing daily processing or if we want to work out when that fund was last touched, we can see it from here and work out exactly what transactions have been entered in for that fund. We can see the last credit entry date and when that was processed, and also see details relating to that particular fund and even the contribution caps as well. So you've got this really high level information, which is useful for even if you're meeting with the client or a partner comes to you and says, where is this client up to? What sort of information can we present? You can see all of that from even from the home screen without even going into that SMSF. And that's available for all of them from here. So I can select other funds at the same time and also see that information from within the home screen itself as well. So it gives you that really high level information without even going into an SMSF. Now, on the left-hand side as well, we've got what we call our Analytical Insights and tool available. Now, this is really good so that you can see high-level information relating to the funds across multiple different filters as well. So if I just scroll through this shortly while I go through these filters allow you to look at where a fund is or what stage it is at and which ones fall into a particular category. So T-bar has been a really big one over the last few years. And funds changing, for example, to quarterly reporting. So you can see when T-bar events are due and when they might flick to a quarterly reporting regime as well. All of that sort of detail you can see from here, as well as, for example, the unmatched transactions as well. So if you've got a number of bank feeds running, for example, and you want to see how many funds have a lot of unmatched transactions, you can see them from within here straight away. So if I was to click on, for example, this one over here, so one of these filters, I can see that there are these 128 funds that currently have a number of unmatched transactions in the transaction list. So it gives you that really high level information there again, so that you can see how many funds need to be worked on and also plan and work out time accordingly on how much time needs to be allocated to those funds. Again, as well, also looking at previous webinars such as smart matching as well. So if there are a number of ones where there's a lot of transactions in those funds, you can work out also whether you need to create some more rules for common transactions. Obviously, there'll be some big funds that have a lot of transactions that may not be able to be set up with a rule, but you've got that ability from here to be able to see how many funds have a number of transactions that haven't been matched yet. Like I said as well, also the T-bar ones are really important here, so you can see how many T-bar events are going to be due or overdue, and also in the next sort of few days as well. So that really helps out, especially during those quarterly deadlines or even the annual reporting deadline as well. So you can work out how many T-bar events need to be reviewed first before they are lodged to the ATO as well. One of the other ones as well, contribution caps are quite popular as well. So the clients that do use these can also view that information from here as well. So you can see how many clients are at the cap, or if they or where they are exactly at with the concessional and non-concessional contributions. And then a couple of the other ones that we also see quite commonly is also the lodgement status. So obviously the 2021 return has now already been lodged for most clients, but you can see from here as well the status of where and how many funds haven't been lodged, for example, as well. So again, that really good information that you can also export from here as well. So it's really good to see it on the screen here. But if you do want to export that out to out of Simple Fund 360, you can download from Excel from here and then decide exactly what sort of information you are after. So from here as well, so you've got the ability to export it to Excel so that you can see all this information and then work out your workflows on when you'll be working on them. I just got a question here about how the funds are sorted. They're in order of when they were last worked on. So the funds that you've last worked on will be at the top of the screen, for example, and then the ones towards the bottom will be ones that may not have been worked on in a little bit of time. But yeah, like I said, you've got the ability to export that information from here. So that's just a little bit about the Analytical Insights, but definitely take a look if you haven't already. Have a look and see what sort of information you can grab from here, as it is really sort of useful information and seeing where funds are up to exactly, and working out your workflows, especially for the next sort of 12 months, especially if you are managing a number of funds and want to plan that out. Now, the next one that we're going to look at is the account view. Now, account view is quite similar to the live reports area. So a lot of clients may have used the live reports area, which is available in the reports menu. But what you can actually do is see a live sort of trial balance in every screen. Now, it's this little X icon that is available next to the search in the top left-hand corner. So a lot of clients will typically select a fund from here, but we miss that little button there, and it's actually a really powerful and useful tool. So when I click on this one over here, we can see that basically a live trial balance comes up with all of the account details for this particular fund. Now, this is a really good screen. Like I said, if you're in any screen in Simple Fund 360, that button will always be there, no matter what screen in Simple Fund you are in. It allows you to compare the last year's balance with the current year's balance. And I know in speaking to a number of different clients, especially if you're quite new to the firm or quite new to the fund that you're working on, you really want to check and make sure that the balance from the previous year to the current year hasn't changed maybe a huge amount if it's not something that where there's a lot of volume or transactions, and you want to make sure that you've processed things correctly. You can see that movement from here. So the last year balance, the value of that, and then also if there's any sort of investments on hand, you can see the change in the number of units as well. Now from here as well, you can also further drill into them. So if I click on, for example, the bank accounts area, it will bring up the sub-accounts, so the bank accounts that relate to that control account. And probably not a good example, but if you click into any of these ones from here, you'll be able to see exactly the details relating to that fund. So I go into another fund. And if I go back into the account view area again and select our bank accounts. So from here, we can see all of the transactions that have been posted to that particular account. And we can also export this to Excel if you want to reconcile or make sure that all the details are correct. So this is, like I said, is available in any screen. So no matter what screen you're working in, if you're in the work papers area or corporate actions, you can access this from here and easily go straight to that particular transaction if there is an issue or something that needs to be fixed up with it as well. Now with the filters area as well, you can also see additional information. So if you want to view other columns relating to your particular account, you can also see them from this particular area too. Now that's at a fund level there that we've got. So if I was to look at, for example, any of the transaction area here, this allows you to work out what sort of investments or accounts a particular fund has. So it's similar to the analytical insights that we looked at just before, but also looks at now what sort of details can we further drill into. So as an example, it's just as there's quite a bit of information, it is loading at the moment. But if I wanted to see, for example, how many funds have a property, I could obtain that information from the property dashboard that is available in the investments area. But within this screen as well, you can also see in the investments how many funds have a property. And that will help out with also working out how many ones need a valuation or anything of those sorts of details. But as there is a bit of information, that's why we can see quite a bit being populated here at the moment. And we can see which funds have that particular sort of information. And again, export this to Excel if we do need to as well. So it's quite a bit of good information that you can see at a firm level. So it's really important to sort of utilize the screens that are available rather than trying to extract information manually and then work out exactly where it's up to. Maybe so that's just a little bit about the account view and the analytical insights area. And also, by the way, so if you do need to exit out of the account view area, all you need to do is just click on it again, and it will take you back into the screen that you were working on before. So as an example, if I'm in the transaction list, and I'm in any of these transactions over here, if I click on the account view, this particular account view screen just sits on top of the existing screen that I'm already working on. So I can just close that one from here, and then we'll take me back straight into what I'm working on. So you're not going to lose any of your work that you're currently working on, which is really good and powerful when you are working on entering in transactions, if that's something that you do manually without a bank feed or the smart docs and CSV options as well. Perfect. So the next one that we're going to look at is the tax agent. So with the tax agent and lodging party details. So if there's something that you've already set up, that's great. You probably won't need to worry about this part if you've been lodging through Simple Fund 360. Even if you don't lodge through Simple Fund 360, it's still important to authorize BGL and Simple Fund 360 as a nominated software provider. It's really helpful if you've got, for example, and you're using Xero Tax and you lodge through Xero Tax, there is the option to export and to integrate the tax return straight into Xero Tax, so you can lodge it from there. But it's also important for the SuperStream and ESA requirements as well. So when you're processing a rollover, it's important to make sure that your tax agent details are in Simple Fund 360 and that you have authorized Simple Fund 360 as a software provider with the ATO as well. Now, just currently flicked into another license here at the moment. Now, currently I'm in the lodging party screen. So to access the lodging party area, we're in the settings area here on the left-hand side, and then the lodging party option from here. Now, when you first open this screen here, you'll be able to see all of the tax agents that are in your license. Obviously, it'll be blank if you haven't yet added them to the software. But in the top right-hand corner, we can see something called a Sbr Software Id. Now, this ID is very important in order to provide it to the ATO correctly. So with the software ID, this is unique to this particular license that you are logged into on Simple Fund 360. If you have a license and you've got multiple tax agents, that is also fine. You can have multiple tax agents within the one Simple Fund 360 license. And they can all use the exact same software ID, but it is important to make sure that each tax agent authorizes that software ID on the ATO's end. Now, to add a lodging party to Simple Fund 360, what you would do is go into the Add Lodging Party area, and add it to the contact if you need to first. For this one, I've already got an example already created. Now, just selecting the company first, so the practice name, for example. And then if you've got multiple representatives attached to that company, you can select them if there's multiple and individual tax agent numbers per director as an example as well. Now you've got so if there's any trustees listening to the webinar as well, you can definitely lodge as a trustee to the ATO directly. You don't have to have a tax agent, but you still do need to make sure that the ATO is notified that you are using Simple Fund 360 and that has been authorized as well. Now, if I was to select the tax agent option from here, I'm just going to pop in a random number. And then from here, you'll be able to select which funds belong to this particular lodging party. So it's really important that you take the time, if there are multiple tax agents, that you select the correct entities per fund. Okay, so if there's only one lodging party, then you can select the checkbox over here, and it will attach the lodging party to all of the funds that are in the license. But also keeping in mind the warning that it will override any previous one. So I'm just going to uncheck that for the moment, and I'm just going to save this one here. So now in the screen here, we've got Awana here as a separate tax agent, and then also myself. There's quite a few tax agents in here, but we can see there's another one over here as well. So I've been added in as an individual partner of this firm, but we've still got and recognized as the tax agent company as well. Now, in order to authorize the tax agent with the ATO, this has been done. So using that software ID again that we have here in the top right-hand corner, you've got a bit of a shortcut to log into the ATO Access Manager. So as long as you're the primary administrator, you'll be able to access that area. But we also have a couple of help articles, and we can include the links to these in the email with the recording that you receive. But there are a couple of articles that go through exactly how to notify the ATO that you are using BGL Simple Fund 360 and to nominate them as a software provider. And this process here has a number of screenshots, and it goes through the exact process on how to add these software IDs. That software ID is the one that is available in this top right-hand corner of the lodging party screen. So once again, it is important to make sure that if you do have multiple tax agents, that each tax agent has authorized Simple Fund 360 and that software ID. There is also this help article, which also goes through how to add a lodging party, which is what we've gone through as well in the software. So it's important to make sure that all of those steps have been completed. Like I said, if you haven't already done so, definitely take the time to do that, especially when it does come to rollovers and lodgement period. It's important to make sure that you sort of have that information available now and don't have to worry about it later on. Also keeping in mind, making sure that everything is linked up correctly as well. So when you do add in the details into Simple Fund 360, make sure that the information such as the ABN, tax agent number, those details are very important at a firm level, and also making sure that the client, the fund, is correctly linked to your tax agent on the ATO's end as well. If there are any sort of discrepancies with those, then they will typically cause an issue when you attempt to validate the SMSF annual return. So definitely just take the time to make sure that it is set up correctly before you do proceed as well. So that's just a bit about the lodging party and the tax agent side of things. So I'm going to look at more now the badges and the reports screens. Now in the settings area, again, we've got the option here for a badge. Now, every fund has a badge. So if I was to go back into a fund over here, so in the fund details area, every fund has a badge attached to it. Now, if you do want to change, and when you do set up a fund, so if I was to go to the entity setup area, the option is over here to attach a badge to that particular fund when you first set it up. Now, badges allow you to customize the look and feel of the reports. So a lot of clients will typically have multiple badges. So they might have a badge for things to when a partner reviews a fund internally, and then there might be a separate badge for the client when the financial statements are produced for the client. Now, with the badges area here, so if I go into here and select maybe the default badge, for example, so we've got here a number of different settings that are available. Now, again, like I said, you can have multiple badges, but only one badge attached to the fund as a default. But you can change the report settings at any time as well. Now, from here, a couple of common examples with the rounding. So typically the trustees of an SMSF may not want to see the cents in there. So you can choose to turn that off. So you can say rounding is yes, which means that anytime the reports are generated, they won't include cents on them. Some of the other ones that you might also choose to customize, for example, including a dollar sign, if that's something more neat and presentable to the clients, you can also have that from here. And you can, a couple of other things that we've also changed recently is the ability to also change the color as well. So we're going to look at the reports shortly, but when you are generating the reports for a particular fund, you can also change that blue line that we've previously that we've had at the top of the screen. So you can make that suitable to your firm's color palette, especially if you know the hex code as well. So there's a few other ones available here on the screen that you can change. And this is also where you can also change some of the other details relating to that particular badge as well. Again, so you can have multiple badges also as well. So this fund has quite a few that we haven't around here at the moment. By default, there'll be one badge per fund. But when you are generating the reports, which you're about to do shortly, you can select other badges as well. You don't have to change that badge for each fund every time you generate the reports. So if I navigate to the reports area over here, so from our left-hand side, we've got the reports menu. And opens up is our new report screen from here as well. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to flick back into one of the other funds that we've got here. Okay, so we've got our report screen here open at the moment. Now, with the new report screen, a couple of things that we're going to touch on, some hidden features as well. The menu on the left-hand side. So if you're looking at this particular section here with my quick access, you may see that mine look a little bit different to yours. So we've had this feature for a little bit of time now, but one of the best features that we can, that you definitely can use now, is that you can customize the quick access report. So if you haven't already done this, I definitely recommend that you do it. So that you can tailor which reports you often generate. And this is a per user level setting as well. So we understand that every user looks at different things. A partner might look at other reports compared to the accountant. So each user can see these settings in here. And this is also going to flow through to any firm. So if you are if you have access to multiple firms' accounting licenses, the report menu here, the quick access, will follow you into any firm that you log into. So you don't have to set it up per firm. This is a per user feature available. Now, to change any of those ones from here, it's using the little star icon here in the main report screen. So anything that is here with the star icon will be the ones that have been favorited and appear in our quick access area here. So if I want to, for example, remove the investment movement report, that would no longer appear once I refresh the screen. And I can replace that one with another report. So maybe just one of our investment reports. I will favorite that one over here. And if I just refresh the screen, we can see here down the bottom that it's now going to have the investment summary with market movement in the quick access. You can also drag and drop the reports. So if you want a particular order of the reports, you can also do that from here as well. And then that would also flow through back into your quick access reports area as well. Now, with some of the reports from here as well, so if you want to open them really quickly, you can do them from here just by clicking on any of the reports in the list here. You don't necessarily have to move it to the report pack list every time. You can just generate them from here directly, and that will open up in a new tab for you. Now, with the report packs, you can have a number of report packs created in 360 as well. So similar to the badges, the partner might have a specific set of reports that they want to look at when they are reviewing a fund. And the reports that you give to a client are likely to be different. So you can create those separate report packs from here when you are, depending on what sort of circumstances are happening at the moment. Now, if I was to select one of the current report packs from here, it will show all of the ones that have been saved in order and the ones that are attached to that report pack. Now, if I want to change an existing report pack, what I would do is to select, for example, any of the reports from the area here. If I can search for it or select it from here, I can change the order. So if I wanted to move it up, I can definitely do that from here. And then I can click on the save button here to save that report pack. Again, report packs are at a firm level. So if I was to log into or change to another fund from here, we can see the report pack will follow through as well, as it is a firm level setting. Okay. Now, to add a new report pack as well. So if I was to add maybe another couple of reports into here, you do have the option. So if I just clear that for one moment, and then add a couple of different reports. So I don't currently have one now selected. Clear that one out. You've then got the option from here to save a report pack in 360. And then you can give that a report. So I can just call that the webinar report pack. So again, that would just have all of the reports in there in the order that they have been selected. And then at the click of a button, we can download them and it would produce those financials. Now, with the badges, what we touched on earlier, so the badges change the look and the feel of the reports and the figures that are displayed on there. So if you do have, so with the badges that you do have, so for example, you might have the internal one and one for the client. So when you're generating the financials for the client, you would select the appropriate badge, for example, that doesn't have or has rounding turned on. And then you would produce and prepare the documents for that particular fund from the screen from here as well. So it's just a little bit about the report screen, but it's definitely powerful and much easier than the previous old report screen, where you can change and customize the reports and look at the feel of those ones from here as well. But one of my personal favorite features is the favorites area, so that you can now customize that if you haven't already done so from here. Perfect. So just wrapping up the webinar from here. Okay, so if you do have any sort of final questions, feel free to pop them into the Q&A section, and we'll definitely answer them from here as well. On behalf of BGL, thank you very much for attending today's webinar. If you do want to see some of the other resources that we do have available, we do have the live chat available in Simple Fund 360, the learning channel and YouTube channel, which is also available with a number of recorded videos that you can refer to, BGL community as well. If you haven't already as well, we do have a Simple Fund 360 Education Week that will be running in a couple of weeks' time. So if you're currently using CAS 360 and you went to the CAS 360 Education Week about a few weeks ago, we have a similar one that will be running with for CAS in a few weeks ago. We'll be having one for Simple Fund in a couple of weeks' time. So if you do have, if you want to get some more exposure to some of the screens and make sure that you're using the most out of the software, definitely do register for the Education Week, which has a number of different webinars hosted by various people at BGL. And we can definitely help you to maximize the use of the software. So once again, very big thank you to everyone that joined today's webinar. We'll make sure that we include all of the relevant links, including the Education Week in there, so that you can register for those webinars.